Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and I'm sorry I haven't posted anything in a while, that I didn't stream last week. I actually got really sick Monday after I did my Ultimate Form Sora pulls. I got really sick, I was very bed confined, I couldn't even talk for any more than 30 minutes at a time. So doing streams, trying to do recordings was very difficult for me. So I just decided to rest, take some time off to let myself recover. But we are back after about roughly a week, and we've got a few things cooking right now. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the notices backtracking to this Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B. We're going to go through all this stuff, and then in the future, what I want to do is the big bonus challenge that we got for August on a stream, as well as my August Coliseum climb on stream as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into the notices, starting from the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B. So the big thing to note on this one is that it is a mercy pull. And granted, it's 10 pulls, but it is a guaranteed Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B within 10 pulls, which is really good. Kairi B has done a lot of favors for me, being able to boost up my upright strength for one group of enemies by 5,000 for one turn. That makes a very big difference, especially when it came to things like the high score challenges, when it comes to things like Coliseum, when you have to one-turn things. So getting plus 5,000 upright strength is a very big difference, and as the game moves forward, you know, people were playing around with Ultimate Form Sora, with Kingdom Hearts 3 Aqua, Kingdom Hearts 3 Terra, Kingdom Hearts 3 Xemnas. We're starting to realize the importance of having that plus strength going for you. So to have Kairi B, which essentially is like 3 casts of Ultimate Form Sora, bringing your strength up to plus 5,000 upright is a very big deal. And to have it as a mercy is really good. To have it in a banner where you get 2 traits per pull is really good. And to get even a magic gem on top of it all is just really good. The thing that would have made this better is that if instead of a magic gem we were getting a tier 9 dual Meow Wow, that would have made this actually fantastic. But it's still overall a really good banner, where at the end of it all, you're going to have 20 trade rolls for Kairi B. That's enough to get you a lot of stuff. That can get you extra attack probably. That can get you ground, aerial, strength. 20 traits is a lot of traits. It's just 10 short of the 30 that they gave us for Ultimate Form Sora. So I know 10 draws is a very deep amount of jewels to go in. That's 30,000 jewels, and I know a lot of people don't want to spend that. I definitely understand if you don't want to pull from this. I'm just saying, if you do decide to pull from this, it's not such a bad investment as of right now, considering the climate of the game, how we're moving forward, what mechanics are going to be carrying through, and whatnot. So it's kind of up in the air. I definitely leave it up to you if you want to pull for it. Personally, for me, Kairi B has been doing a lot of good work. And to have it back as a mercy, we don't know when it's going to come back. We don't know if we'll ever run it across again. We don't know when we'll get traits for it again. So even if you pull it from like a supernova pull, you don't know if you're going to have traits for it down the line. And the traits can be very crucial to making this medal work correctly, especially when you can have extra attack. Bringing yourself up to plus 6,000 upright strength from this medal alone is very big. But you do have until September 1st to decide. That there's a few more days left on here. We are getting VIP coins, which is kind of odd because the way they're doing VIP coins nowadays is very strange, and I'm kind of not liking it, but that's for a different video altogether. Remember that Kairi B is going to be the first offensive Kairi medal with a multiplier of, I believe, somewhere around like the 13.5 range, which is actually really good for AoE and not needing any conditions at all to be able to do that much damage. It is kind of nerfed by the fact that she only has a maximum strength of 23,000, but when you topple that on top of her cast, that brings you up to almost 24,000, plus her supernova, that brings you up to 29,000, and then it also beefs up everything else, so that's actually bringing it up to roughly about 29,000, which is a really respectable amount, on top of making your other medals down the way stronger. She will give you strength buffs, which is really good. Lately, it looks like we've been looking for minus general defense buffs, but strength buffs is still really good. No cost, so you're able to cast her for free. And then, again, that supernova attack doing a lot of work, and also being able to decrease your enemy's general defense and PSM defense and upright defense. So a lot of stuff going for Kairi B. I definitely think she is a very good medal, and that is why she made, I believe it was the number 5 slot on my top 10 list. Honestly, I'd maybe even consider number 4, but it's really high up there. It's one of the best medals out right now, for sure, and it's hard for us to tell if it'll be replaced with anything else, because plus 5,000 strength on top of the 500 from her cast, and then plus another 500 from her if she gets extra attack, that's a lot of upright strength going to the rest of your medals downstream. So I leave it up to you. I definitely think it's a good pull if you have the jewels. If you can at least by the end of it all still have 15,000, I think it's a pretty decent investment, especially for the number of traits, the number of stuff you're getting out of it. Again, really the only thing that's setting this back is that we're not getting the tier 9 dual Meow Wows. But other than that, it's a mercy. You've got a lot of traits coming, a lot of VIP coins coming, good magic gems, and of course you have the chance to hit other things along the way. So Kairi B, definitely solid, definitely has been helping me out in a pinch as of late. We got the August Big Bonus Challenge. Again, we are going to be doing a stream for this one sometime soon, but it is another means of getting free jewels. As I remember correctly, you will get jewels every step on the way. I haven't attempted it yet, but you do get jewels along the way, so it's a lot better than a quest where it's only 5,000 jewels right at the end. As far as I remember, if this is anything like the July challenge, again, I haven't really tested it, but if it works out the same way, this is a really solid event, because even if you can't beat it, hopefully you can get some jewels along the way. So good stuff there. And also, it's free jewels. It's a way of earning free jewels, which is always nice, because to earn rewards is always a really, really good feeling. It makes us feel like we want to play to get those rewards, as opposed to just playing for nothing, you know, with PvP being our biggest thing. Now we've got some things to look forward to tweak our setups to try and beat, so it's always nice to have a goal. It's always nice to have things to want to pass. Mike Pouch Union Cross, nothing too special here. Again, it's just a Union Cross that we've got for roughly about a week. Free jewels, free avatar parts, free experience medals, free... I don't know if chips are in there. I actually don't think chips and Dales are in there. Free SIDs, free stuff, nothing to complain about. And it helps you build jewels along the way, doing those weekly quests that show up right on the top here. So make sure you do these Union Cross quests, because if you do, you'll get some free jewels on top of the jewels that you'll get from the mission itself. So super good stuff. Just make sure you do it. Just do it during the bonus hours. You'll get it done within like 2 or 3 of them. Not a big deal at all. Alright, the weekly jewel extravaganza. This is the last one that is coming with Kingdom Hearts 3 Xemnas. I will be pulling for this one because all the ones prior to this haven't been spectacular. This one itself is also not spectacular, but it is the last time for me to get them. And again, talking about new mechanics, that reverse strength can do a lot for you. It can actually help you quite a bit when it comes to being stuck and locked to reverse setups. So if you have to use like Missing Egg, Dark Gnaw, even Diamond Dust, you know, even though those might not be the appropriate color. So if you're using Missing Egg, it's a speed type Keyblade. Obviously Xemnas is a power type. It doesn't match, but it'll give you that plus 1500 strength, which is still really good. Again, nothing special about the weekly jewel extravaganza. If you're asking if I think you should buy it, it's really up to you. If you have a Kingdom Hearts 3 Xemnas, I'd say it's a pass, honestly. There's nothing really special about it. If you like the avatar parts, it's on you. 5 tier 9 dual Meowas. Again, these are getting a little bit easier to get nowadays, so I wouldn't be stressing these out too much either. 3 gems times 10. We've been getting a crazy ton of ways to get gems lately, so I wouldn't be worried about this even. If you need to farm for stuff, you can farm for chips, you can farm for the experience medals. The rest of this stuff in the middle here is kind of whatever. Obviously, you're going to get the 1400 jewels additional on top of the 3000, so 4,400 jewels altogether. Decent stuff, but really nothing too crazy to report back home about. We'll do Baymax last, actually. So moving on to our next notice, we have the Supernova deal. Again, I am posting this kind of late, so it might be kind of hindsight advice, but really looking forward into other Supernova deals. Remember that, yes, this is going to guarantee you 1 Supernova medal from a very limited pull, and actually for this one particularly, there's a lot of decent medals in here that have like good abilities outside of needing traits. But remember that with these Supernova deals, you actually aren't getting any trait medals. So unless you have trait medals stocked up, unless there is an avatar board for it right now, unless you can spend VIP coins on it, you're pretty much grabbing a medal that potentially has no traits attached to it. This particular one is really decent because the medals that come in it, some of them don't need traits to be useful. So for example, Kingdom Hearts 3 Monster Sora doesn't need traits particularly to be useful in PvP. Kingdom Hearts Zeus doesn't need traits to be particularly useful in PvP. Angelic Amber is a copy medal. Kingdom Hearts 3 Roxas has a great ability outside of traits. Kingdom Hearts 3 Terra, Kingdom Hearts 3 Ventus have solid abilities without needing traits. However, traits are what's going to keep these medals relevant moving forward. So if you have these medals and you don't have ground on them, or you don't have extra attack, or you don't have aerial, you don't have strength, you're just missing a few things here and there, it can prevent the medal from being very, very useful from you down the line. So again, this particular supernova medal deal was pretty decent because again, the number of medals that don't need traits to be solidly good, but you're still flipping coins on it. Again, it's a 10% chance for each one. So counting the ones that I just said, Monster Sora, Zeus, Angelic Amber, Roxas, Ventus, and Terra, you have a 60% chance of hitting one of those, which is pretty decent. But I did the pull on my free-to-play account. I got Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, so it pretty feels bad. So just remember, you're taking a gamble. You could potentially end up with nothing good, but you do at the very least end up with a tier 9 dual Meow, a tier 9 medal, and some VIP coins for your troubles in case you didn't get anything good. So that's my spiel on this supernova deal. No traits is a very, very big deal breaker for me, but if you have a bunch of traits stacked up for a lot of these medals, like you just attempted pulls on them, or you just use VIP coins to get those traits, you know, maybe it's worth doing. It's only 3,000 jewels. It's very, very cheap in comparison to trying to do a mercy banner on it. But it's really up to you. It's a decent gamble. I'd understand if you do it, but if you want to just save the jewels, by all means, I think that's a smart move too. Either way, I won't think you made a bad move if you did either one. Alright, moving on to the second to last one we're going to talk about, the weekly raid event. Really the only thing to pay attention to here is that it ends a little bit early. So it ends on August 31st rather than the standard Monday in California every week kind of thing. So this ends a little bit early, so make sure if you are gunning to get those coins that you get them a little bit early. Remember that once this one ends, we're going to get a new boss. It's going to have level 1, new boards, things like that. So if you want to complete these boards, if you're really all about that, by all means, just make sure you do it before the end of August. Alright, moving on to the last notice, which is this Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Baymax deal. Let's go ahead and read through the notice, and I will give my thoughts on it. So Supernova Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Baymax arrives in a new deal. If you purchase the VIP, you are guaranteed it within 5 pulls, and the standard draw guarantees it within 10 pulls. So the first thing to note here is that it's nice that with this banner, with Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku, it was guaranteed. There was none of this flippin' coin stuff. There was none of this 1 in 3 chance. There was none of that weird gimmicky. It was just, if you have the jewels, you can mercy it. That's it. End all be all. No questions asked. I really like that format of banner. It's guaranteeing you a good medal if you saved your jewels, if you played it smart. Guarantees are always nice, and I don't like the whole 1 in 4, 1 in 3, that additional risk on top of having to spend jewels altogether. So I do like this banner format. There are a few things that would make it better, like getting 2 trait medals versus 1, but technically, since you're getting VIP coins, it does count as getting like a second trait if you wanted. So it is sort of like getting 2 traits. You're getting a tier 9 dual Meow. Lots of good stuff in these banners. Alright, moving on down to the actual medal details. So first of all, this thing looks awesome. It's like evil Baymax. It's like, no, it's not like Anti-Aqua. Anti-Aqua is just crazy. I loved Anti-Aqua. But yeah, it just looks so cool with like its Dark Claw of nanobots. Awesome looking stuff. Alright, so pretty much this is a reverse red version of Pirate Sora, where he, using this medal, is going to nerf your defense to the maximum pretty much. So it's going to do overwrite, minus 15 defense, minus 15 upright defense, minus 15 reverse defense, and minus 15 PSM defense. So essentially, if you use this medal, you fully debuff yourself in terms of defensive capability, meaning that you probably get pricked by a needle and you'd probably get knocked out. So it lowers your defense all the way to maximum, and then it does damage based on the number of enemies or the number of parts that are left on the raid boss. So when you look at the damage multiplier, it's either times 3.8 or times 64.16, which once you remove the special attack bonus, it's either got a multiplier of 1 if you're going up against multiple enemies, or 17 if you're going up against 1 enemy. So that's a very, very big difference, a very big gap. So that damage plus makes a really big difference. And then lastly, it's going to use up all your gauges. Unless you've got like max gauge plus 2 on like a bunch of medals multiple times, it's using up all your gauges. 30 gauges is really, really taxing. Like, even after you use it, let's just say you had even like plus 10 max gauges, you're only ending up with like 2 gauges after it for some keyblades. So it's like it uses up a crazy ton of gauges. Whew. Almost had a cough building up there. But yeah, because of that, like, it can be very, very limiting on how you can use it. Not only that, it costs 9 gauges, so it's also a heavy cost to even just use this medal. So it's just a lot of bad things when it comes to the gauge cost of this. It costs 9 gauges. Even if you slap like attack boost 8 max SP gauge 1, it uses plus 30 gauges, so it's going to use the 1 gauge on top of 30 additional gauges. That's crazy. That's like all your gauges. You'd have to do a lot of crazy finagling in order to have any gauges left after using this attack. Its supernova attack hits only 1 enemy, and it does times 180 damage, and then times 220 if you've unlocked Supernova Plus. It increases your gauges by 5, which is like pretty minuscule in comparison to what it's taking away from you, and it activates in slot 3, so it does no buffs, no debuffs, nothing crazy. The big thing about this medal, as well as Pirate Sora, is that they have a maximum strength of 5,000 before any traits, but after chips and dales. So if you get strength plus 1,000, that's going to make it even higher. If you get strength plus 2,000 as your pet trait, makes it even higher. But honestly, it's a skip for me. Like, I have a big problem with this medal and Pirate Sora, and everyone's always talking about how great these medals are, how good they are in single target fights, but there's just a lot of crazy bad things with these medals. So first of all, you can only use them in single target fights, and that means if there's even just one additional enemy, if there's just one additional raid part, you are doing one, like pretty much times 1 multiplier damage, which is nothing. Like literally tier 3 medals have a higher multiplier than that, so that's like nothing. So it effectively makes you only want to use this in single target fights. So PvP, for missions where you have like one really big boss with no accompanying enemies, that's a very limiting scenario to use this in. So for example, if they just threw us an event where the enemy is a big boss, it's accompanied by a barrier master, it's just like, oh geez, I wasn't expecting this. I gotta take out this barrier master first before this medal even becomes remotely useful to use. So that's like one very big con, because what that means is that the game developers can choose to make a mission with 2 enemies in it, rendering your medal useless, rendering your medal that you spent a lot of jewels to get useless. And I'm just not a big fan of that. The more control you give to the game developers, the less control you have as a player. The less control you have as a player, the more you have to just play by their rules, as opposed to being smart, as opposed to thinking your way through problems. The game forces you into a scenario where you have to like play by their rules, and I don't like it. You know, I don't like where you can spend money on something and then it's like, well, it's useful in like one particular scenario, but in a lot of other scenarios it's pretty much not as good. So that's one big caveat to this medal. Another big caveat to this medal is that you need to hit ground enemy defense minus 60 and aerial enemy defense minus 60 to make this better than any other tier 9 medal that has ground or aerial. Because think about it this way. So yes, it does have 5,000 or 50,000 strength. If I said 5,000, I meant 50,000. Yes, that means you're getting to very, very high numbers of strength. However, remember that if the enemy's defense is higher than your strength level, no matter how much damage you do, no matter what the multiplier is, it's only going to do 1 damage. So you have to have a scenario where you lower the enemy's defense enough to capitalize on the maximum strength of this. So even if you have a crazy ton of strength, if the enemy has higher defense than you, you're doing 1 damage. So that's another big thing, is that you have this big, giant, pretty much like ray gun laser beam type of medal, but it could still be nerfed if you don't have the right traits. So instantly this medal starts to lose even more effectiveness if you don't have the right traits. So that's another big downside to this. Another downside to this is that gauge cost. It's just so big, it's so impossibly difficult to ignore, because without anything, without any skills, without any like restoration, we're looking at a gauge cost of 39 after this activation. 39, and that is a crazy high number. So some people have been saying, oh well, if I pair it with Kingdom Hearts 3 Maleficent, or pair it with Kingdom Hearts 3 Pete, or pair it with like Kingdom Hearts 3 Woody or Buzz, they can use it. And yes, that is true, but my big big argument against that is that you are subbing out a tier 9 metal that can have a lot more usefulness, that is dealing a lot more damage, that can hit a lot of more enemies for a tier 8. Like, why would you do that? Why would you purposefully nerf your entire setup so that you can restore your gauges once so that you can activate this ability one extra time? I just don't get it. I don't think it's like a good idea. And then on top of that, so if you want to use this metal, let's say you want to be tricky. Let's say you want to use it early and then you restore gauges. So you'd have to do some tricky setup where you have like this metal on the first slot of Dark Gnaw, and then you have HD Xion on the second slot of Dark Gnaw. So you activate Xion's Supernova attack, and then that beefs up this Dark Baymax, then it hits, and then you go to the Xion, recover some gauges, you're able to use more things down the line. Great, but again, that depends on Supernova attacks. That's reliant on you being able to use that Supernova HD Xion to beef up this metal so that it can attack, and then you restore gauges. And then that's already like a weird scenario to be in. Later down the line, if you want to use this as your last metal, sure, but again, you start with no gauges. So if you don't have like HD Xion with extra attack, or you don't have Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi A with extra attack, you're only starting your rotation with 10 gauges. That's really, really low. So there's just so many cons to this metal. There's so many scenarios where it's just very limiting to you, where you have to sub it out with other things, or you need to include other things into your setup in order to make it work. I just don't like them. Ooh, this is what I was referencing. I can't talk for super long. But yeah, I don't like Dark Baymax. I don't like Pirate Sora. I've never needed them, to be honest. I've never felt particularly impaired by not having them to the fullest ability. So this is a very easy skip for me, and I really wouldn't advise anybody to get it, to be honest. Like, yes, there will be scenarios where it's useful. A lot of people talk about scenarios where, well, what if you're fighting like one really big enemy, or what if you're fighting PvP? And yes, that's true, but in a sense, all metals are like that. All metals have scenarios where they're particularly useful. So the way I like to look at this metal, as well as Pirate Sora, is that how many scenarios is it going to be useful to me in? How many scenarios can I think of in my head where these metals are going to be just so great, they're so unreplaceable, you know, you have to use them. If you don't, it's going to be near impossible to pass this mission. Not many come to mind. Honestly, very, very few come to mind. This thing debuffs you, it doesn't buff itself, it requires buffing, uses all those gauges, that weird damage plus where it's either doing no damage or all the damage. There's a lot of big cons to this metal that I just can't get behind. So, very easy skip for me. Very easy advisable skip to anyone who's thinking about pulling for this. But, by all means, if you love Dark Baymax, if you just want it for the collection, that's on you. You know, I'm not going to fault you for wanting to pull for what you want to pull for. Honestly, it's just a game. Have fun with it. I still do advise, though, if you want to pull from it, try and end with at least 15,000 jewels. I know I don't have 15,000 jewels right now, but that's again because I distribute my jewels in a bunch of different places so that I'm not using them. So again, I save them up in my presents box. So I have this is pretty much jewels for the month. This is all the daily login bonuses, all the random presents that they gave us stocked up in here. I'm gonna buy VIP this week, so that's another 4,400 there. I've got the avatar board, so that's already 15,000 right here alone. And then I also save up my Riku and Moogle medals. So we've got 23 of these, 23, 500 apiece. How much is that? I don't want to botch up the math. Let's see. So 23 of these puppies times 500 jewels each. I'm looking at 11,500 jewels here. So while I don't have 15,000 jewels on hand, I can easily make it by collecting avatar boards, things like that. So that's how I save my jewels. Again, just a quick recap on that. I wouldn't buy Dark Baymax. I advise you don't buy Dark Baymax and save your jewels, because those jewels can be used for other things. Remember that Ultimate Form Sora costs the same amount of jewels. That is halfway to a Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B. That is a Mercy pull and then some for a falling price banner that guarantees it within 5 pulls. So the jewels are useful, and I just don't think really Dark Baymax is. Alright, well, my throat is just not having it. So I'm going to cut it off here. As always, if there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. But as always, everyone, until next time, take it easy.